Breaking news.
Drama! Yes, drama when it comes to Manchester United.
It's all kicking off.
Man United won't break the bank for him. And if Man United won't break the bank for him, they've got other targets. What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. And Ollie Watkins. Yes or no? Ollie Watkins to Manchester United. Yes or no? For the last few weeks, I've been asking the question. I've been saying that I sound like Bill Goldberg. Who's next? After Matheus Cunha, done. After Bryan Mbeumo, done. Who's next? Who is the next target that Manchester United are going after? Are they looking to get a midfielder? Are they looking to get a goalkeeper? Or is the priority to finish off that front three? We've seen 2 10s. It's a 3-4-3. And we just need that striker. We just need that number 9. We just need that person to put the ball in the back of the net. We've already added goals to the team. We've added Cunha. We've added Mbeumo last season. 2 of the top attacking players in the Premier League. Numbers on the board. Mbeumo, 20-odd goals. Cunha, 15-plus goals, plus the assists. We just need a striker. And I've been asking who is next. And that answer may be Ollie Watkins. New talks have taken place between Manchester United and Aston Villa. Villa are saying, look, he's not for sale. Manchester United are saying, we want Premier League proven. Now, United have said at the price of 60 million, which is reportedly what Aston Villa want for him, he's too expensive. But could that price come down if Villa are interested in, say, Alejandro Garnacho? Could 2 deals be done independently of each other that could help each other out? Would you do that deal? Let me know your thoughts. This is the Transfer View, where we talk Manchester United. We talk transfers. Good morning. How are we all doing? Hope you're all doing good. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Let's get to a quick 100 likes through the door on a Friday. It's Friday. Yes, the weekend is nearly hit. Manchester United are back in action in just 24 hours time, a little bit over 24 hours time, a little bit over 24 hours time. But yes, they're going to be back in action. The USA preseason tour is going to kick off and begin at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey against West Ham. And I'm ready to get hurt again. Yeah, I'm ready to get hurt again. I say that, kickoff's at midnight tomorrow. I'll be live as always. 10 hours before kickoff. We've gone big. I was looking at 10 p.m. 10 hours before kickoff, 2 hours before kickoff at 10 p.m. I'm not sure I can pull off 10 hours before kickoff. But you never know. Marathon stream. I'm also going to be live today. Around 2:30, there is a press conference taking place in Chicago, Illinois. And Reba Amram is going to be talking to the press for the first time this summer. So that's around 2 p.m. UK time. As is always the case with these preseason tours and press conferences, it might be a little bit longer. It might be a little bit later than that. So around 2:30, maybe about 3-ish, depending on how long the press conference goes. I'll be live for that. So we'll have that covered for you. And of course, Fleck, KG, Just Josh Media Graphics Guru, Visual Ninja will have boots on the ground in the United States. So stay tuned for that as well. What people are saying here in the chat as well. Aloha from Liam with the first super chat of the morning says, RIP Hulk Hogan. Yes, obviously the news broke yesterday that Hulk Hogan had passed away at the age of 71 years old. I've done a couple of videos on my channel about that if you're interested. It's a complicated one. It's a very complicated one, Hulk Hogan, and his legacy in not just professional wrestling, but I guess entertainment, sport. One of the biggest professional wrestlers, most well-known professional wrestlers of all time. I mean, to show the size of the man, both my dad and my mother, messaged me independently of each other yesterday and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe Hulk Hogan's died," which just goes to show, I mean, they're people that know nothing about it or what have you, and they're messaging people. It was on the ticker on Sky Sports News. But his legacy is a complicated one because it's, marred by scandal, racist comments, leaked sex tapes. Obviously, if you go back into the 1990s, steroid scandals. But what he did for the industry is also undeniable. And what we, as fans, know it as today is because of him and the expansion with him and Vince McMahon in the 1980s, going from regional to national. So it's a very, very complicated one. It's back into that territory, isn't it, about separating the art from the artist? Is that possible? Or does the nature of the artist reflect the art? It's a debate that's been going on a lot over the last few years, isn't it? So, yes, but if you want to check that out, be sure to check it out on my channel, WrestlingNews36555. Right, let's talk about Ollie Watkins. This is a really interesting story, actually, about how this is all sort of played out over the last 24 hours. Because as I mentioned, I've been asking for at least the last week, maybe even longer, who's next? We know that Cunha's done. We know that Mbumo's done. And I think I even said yesterday, didn't I, on the show, that I was really interested to see who was going to be that next person that the journalists all start sort of pointing towards and saying, that's who Manchester United are going after. That's who Manchester United are going after. That's the next one. Now, we haven't really seen like an Ornstein bomber on it saying Man United are really going after Ollie Watkins. We have seen Fabrizio Romano talk about it, which we're going to get to in just a second. But it looks like the attention and the target in terms of a striker is indeed Aston Villa's Ollie Watkins. Here's what's been going on the last 24 hours of this one, because there's been quite a lot of back and forth. So Fabrizio Romano, in his YouTube video last night, he said, in the recent hours, Manchester United had direct contact with Aston Villa. There was a club-to-club conversation. Man United asked about the situation of Ollie Watkins. The answer from Aston Villa is they want to keep the player. And this was something that was kind of reported actually a lot earlier yesterday and actually widely by other sources too. So if you see here, Fabrizio Romano once again saying that in the recent hours, they had this contact with Aston Villa for Watkins. Villa want to keep the player. They don't want to negotiate. It has to be a very good proposal to change the story. So not impossible, but they're very reluctant to lose him. They don't want to lose him. Manchester United would have to pay. And look, he's 29. We're looking to get a good deal. You know, they're saying 60 million. A lot of people I'm seeing it already in the chat are going 60, way too much for a 29-year-old. But can we negotiate? Can we figure something out? I had tipped to Ben Jacobs and Alex Crooks. They were actually really the first to sort of really break this story yesterday, saying that Manchester United had indeed held these fresh talks over Ollie Watkins. Villa's £60 million valuation is currently deemed as too high, but Manchester United are prepared to advance things if indeed that price does drop. Villa have no plans to alter their position unless a replacement is found. Nicholas Jackson is one player that is appreciated. Now, if you've been watching episodes of, say, The Red Carpet recently or The Trinity, you'll know that this was something that James from the Muppeteers, shout out to him, was talking about, saying this is why Watkins or Jackson were feasible options, because there was this domino effect that could take place, i.e., if Ollie Watkins went to Manchester United with that money, they would likely go after Nicholas Jackson. Jackson has links with Unai Emery. Emery gave him his debut at Villarreal, and Chelsea are looking to sell because they're constantly still looking to buy, as they always are in the transfer window. But in addition to this, Ben Jacobs then followed it up with what other reports and outlets were saying, which is Manchester United did hold these fresh talks over Ollie Watkins. So this development is new, but the preference is to keep Ollie Watkins or not sell him without a replacement. Now, independent of this, Villa do retain an interest in Alejandro Garnacho. This is a separate deal should they advance talks. So it's not one of those ones whereby what we're going to swap Garnacho, use this young guy, how old is he, 20 years old or what have you, for Ollie Watkins, 29. That's a bad deal. These kind of swaps are more and more rare nowadays, just player for player, because of PSR rules and FFP rules. They happen independently. We would sell Garnacho 50, 60 million pounds, something like that. Obviously, it counts as pure profit. You can double that, treble that. And with some of that money, would go get Ollie Watkins. And it's basically two clubs swapping money, and it just looks good in terms of the accounting. But again, that is something to watch. And then this was really curious about it last night is then Sky Sports came out. And this was hours after all of this Ben Jacobs stuff, saying Manchester United held these talks with Aston Villa over Ollie Watkins and amid Villa's interest in Alejandro Garnacho, which was Interesting because, as Flex has mentioned many times, Sky Sports, the checks they go through before they go over a story like that is pretty rigorous. So you go, oh, I guess there is something really concrete about it. But then they very quickly pivoted to what Ben Jacobs was saying too, which is, well, Villa will want to keep him though. Villa want to keep him, and they're not really sure. It was also a report from the Telegraph yesterday as well that Aston Villa have told Manchester United that Ollie Watkins is not for sale. Watkins' interest follows Manchester United's loan offer for Emi Martinez, which was a story over last weekend saying that Man United had put in this loan offer for Martinez, which was quickly rebuffed. This was something that also Fabrizio mentioned on his video yesterday, saying that Manchester United also asked to Aston Villa the opportunity to sign him on loan. Aston Villa said no chance to let Emi Martinez go on loan. That was very clear after the meeting. So there's a lot there. I'm conscious that there's a lot of information there. If you're going to boil it down, the new developments are that Manchester United had held new talks with Villa. They've gone to Villa and said, okay, Ollie Watkins, we're interested in Ollie Watkins. What could we do a deal? Are you interested in doing a deal? What's the story there? Villa have effectively, their position is, we don't want to sell him, but that's not really that much of a huge development. What, they don't want to sell Ollie Watkins because clubs aren't really in the business of trying to sell their best players. You either have situations whereby clubs are actively looking to move a player on, or they want to keep their best players. And usually in the case of like Manchester United, are we often going after players that, particularly in the Premier League, and we've maybe fallen for it before, for buying players from big European clubs. We're like, we're getting this player, but actually the clubs will want a shot of them. That's not the case in this one. Ollie Watkins has performed very well for Aston Villa the last few years when they've been in and around European positions, Champions League. So, of course, they want to keep him. They also had a situation in January where, for PSR reasons and because they had two strikers nipping at each other and John Duran was too good to be on the bench. He was only playing on the bench. They were like, right, we're going to have to get rid of one of them. Arsenal seemingly interested in Watkins. How real the bids were and the offers were remains to be seen. But they had to get rid of one of them. They ended up getting rid of John Duran. So would they be willing to get rid of another striker 7 months later and then have to find a replacement? Depends how ready-made the replacement is, isn't it? So there's complications there. But the interest certainly is concrete from United, which I think is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. I think the concern would be, and it's interesting how these things start to line up, isn't it? We did the story yesterday on yesterday morning show about the Manchester United hierarchy had accepted, they'd accepted that Manchester United or Ruben Amorim might start this Premier League season without a new striker. Now, is it just completely coincidental that the very next day we find out that we had actually reached out to Aston Villa? We were in talks with Aston Villa about signing Ollie Watkins, and their position is we don't want to sell. It's 60 million. If you can give us 60 million, we'll talk, but also it's dependent on us getting a replacement. Then you start factoring in, right, it's 3 weeks to the beginning of the season. That's going to be quite tight turnaround, isn't it, to make all of that happen? So maybe we won't have a striker before the beginning of the season. And look, when we've spoken about Ollie Watkins before here, I'll get his stats up, or the profile, if you will, back up on the screen. It's from the other day. There are what is the phrase?
Red flag.
There, it's mainly the price, isn't it? He's Premier League proven. He's ready-made. He's in his prime. I actually don't worry too much about the age. I know people look at that and go, 29, striker, 29. I don't know about that. That's less worry. I think football's evolved and football's changed in that, he's got sometimes I think people sort of suggest that once you get to 30 in football, your career's over, which is not accurate, particularly nowadays. Maybe a decade ago, maybe 15 years ago. Now, not so much. Ollie Watkins, still at a very high level in the Premier League. And bear in mind, remember where we are. He finished 15th last season. If he had 2 good years, 3 good years in the Premier League for us, I'm happy with that. And it's 3 years of goal scoring, 2 years of goal scoring. That's fine. Now, it's all about the deal you put them on, of course, isn't it? I mean, if you signed Ollie Watkins, put him on a 5+ 1 year contract at £250,000 a week, that's a problem, isn't it? That's a problem. That's a very Ed Woodward-ish move of going, we need to retain value. We need value, folks. We need value. We need salon value. The salon value of Ollie Watkins. And you have to kind of accept it's not going to be that kind of signing. It's going to be a signing that you're looking for them to improve the team. You're not thinking about selling him on in the future. You're thinking about, 3-year deal or, 3+1, something along those lines. If they can score goals, if they can add to the team, if they can make sure we're qualifying for European football, getting back up the table and competing, then it's value for money. So I don't worry too much about the age. The price, the price is maybe a sticking point, I think, for a lot of people. I'm seeing that in the chat at the moment. 60 million for Ollie Watkins. I mean, how long has he got left on his contract, actually? That's another good point about it. Ollie Watkins contract expiry. Let's have a look. So he signed a new contract in 2023, 5-year deal until 2028. So he's got, 3 years left. At the end of this season, he'll have 2 years left. Yeah, so at the moment, I mean, Villa have a lot of leverage at the moment, don't they? They have a lot of leverage at the moment. I think, obviously, their PSR issues were calmed due to the fact that they sold the women's team. Like, honestly, the loopholes nowadays for PSR, it is a joke, isn't it, PSR? But their PSR issues, I think they're fine. But it might benefit them for them to say, look, okay, we don't want to sell Ollie Watkins, but if we could sell him and bring in Nicholas Jackson, he's younger, he's got experience of working with Unai Emery. We can sort of put him on a longer term deal, then we just don't have to worry about that. So that there could be things that could be a positive there for Aston Villa to do that deal. And again, it could be all tied in about whether we're going to play ball for Alejandro Garnacho as well. I've said it before. Ollie Watkins, it gets a thumbs up from me. Not for 60 million. Maybe, I think, 29 years old, 3 years left on his deal. That's the tough part. If it was like 2 years or a year, then you'd be saying, all right, it's different. But 3 years left, or now just under 3 years left till June of 2028, you're probably looking at around, I don't think we'd get him for 40. You're probably looking at around 45, 50-ish, maybe some add-ons. But I think his numbers do speak for themselves. I think that, we spoke about this yesterday. I'll try and find them again, actually, here. His statistics in the Premier League. It's not just the goals that I really like from Ollie Watkins. It's actually the number of assists that he's got as well. There was the season, not last season, the season before, of the amount of goals he scored in the Premier League, but also the amount of assists he got in the Premier League. Was it 23, 24? I think it was. 23, 24. Yeah, this was it. 37 games in the Premier League. So he's really playing every single game. When this is the other part, we're talking about players. How available are players? Are they injury prone? Are they this? Are they that? Ollie Watkins very rarely miss. In fact, I'm just looking at his. If I look at his Premier League stats, that season, can I see like how many he's like the details of how many started or whatever? But it looked like he was played nearly off every game. It doesn't look like he was injured for any. There you go. He wasn't injured. What's that season? So 2 seasons ago, 37 games in the Premier League, 19 goals, 15 assists. It's not just goals, it's assists. That they are proper numbers. It's not just apart. The phrase we love when we go apart from goals, what do they offer? Which I hate that argument because it's apart from their best quality, what can they really offer all that much? You go, okay, gets assists as well. Last season in the Premier League, 38 games played. Again, doesn't miss games, playing all the time. Wasn't injured once last season. So in terms of fitness record is actually very impressive. 38 games, 16 goals, 8 assists. You've got 24 goal contributions there throughout the entire season, just in the Prem. In the Champions League, a goal, 4 assists. FA Cup, 4 games, 2 assists. So he's getting assists as well. That's the other impressive thing. It's not just about goals. So I really like the player. I mentioned that for years. A couple of years ago, I said I like Ollie Watkins, and we did what we tend to do, and we still do. Maybe not as bad, but the whole from Villa to Manchester United. Whereas now we're kind of a bit like, oh yeah, maybe. But 60 million, no. 60 million, no. If you can bring it down to 45 plus 5, 45 plus 10, and we shall see. We shall see. TJ says he's not for sale, but if it was mentioned earlier on, TJ, that doesn't mean anything. But if transfers always didn't happen when the selling club said they're not for sale, then probably half or 3/4 less the amount of transfers would actually get done. If a club's coming in for one of your best players, of course he's not for sale. Of course. Bruno Fernandes was not for sale. But if Bruno Fernandes went to Manchester United earlier this summer and said, yeah, I'll go to Saudi, what do you think Man United were going to go? We'll turn down that 100 billion, actually, because he's not for sale. Very, very, very few players have ever been not for sale. Very, very few. It's called negotiating, isn't it? Mo Salah at Liverpool, when Saudi came in for him, was not for sale. They offered, was it like 200 million? It was ridiculous, right? He wasn't for sale. Everyone, $1 Million Man Sentence, Ted DiBiase, everybody's got a price. Everyone. I'm interested in buying that car. It's not for sale. Here's £1 million. You can have it. Basically, I'm not for sale means you're going to have to blow me away. But so just because Villa are saying that doesn't mean anything. Where are we at in terms of super chats? Amanor says, I preferred Big Daddy over Hulk Hogan, if you know. Well, I know. The question is, Amanor, do the people in the chat know? Or do they just think this is another raunchy Amanor super chat? He is actually referring to a wrestler, Shirley Crabtree. Yes, that was Big Daddy's real name, Shirley Crabtree. Yes. But classic British wrestler with the likes of Giant Haystacks, World of Sport. Yes. His brother was also a promoter. Yes, a promoter. The Crabtree family. It was Max Crabtree. That was it. Max Crabtree, the promoter. So, oh yeah. All Elite says, get me a central midfielder and a goalkeeper first. And Boom and Cunha were back. We're going to talk about goalkeepers in just a second. But I have seen a lot of people talking about this midfielder stuff. Of course, I know Flex has been talking about it for ages. He's been talking about it for ages, hasn't he? About getting that midfielder in. We just don't have any technical players. The technical ceiling of our team's on the floor. Can't pass really the ball forwards. You saw it in that preseason friendly against Leeds of just gets into the middle of the park and these players don't know what to do. They can't. Ugarte's not going to pass the ball forward. Casemiro, I think that actually we sort of talk about Casemiro's passing and actually that it's underrated, but that's just because actually sometimes he can pass the ball forward. Imagine we actually had someone that was pretty press resistant in there, could take the ball off, the centre backs and get around, win the ball and also distribute it. Oh my goodness. So a lot of people have been talking about central midfielders, definitely. Chalaboy Comic says, profile-wise, Watkins could be Cavani-esque for us. Well, it's big words. It's big words, that's big words. Cavani-esque. Hey, Edison Cavani is top player. He falls into that category with him and Ibra, Zlatan, of those players that even though they came to us late 30s, what was Cavani, 33, I think he was. Ibrahimovic was 34, I think, when he came in. Still got goals because they were still top quality. And you just looked at them and said, if we'd have got them 5 years earlier, good grief. Zlatan came into the Premier League at 34, our top goal scorer. Just class. Won trophies. Edison Cavani came in that first season, not so much the second season. I think Ronaldo coming in and then the injuries and all that kind of stuff. But that first COVID season, Cavani, I remember when he came on at halftime against Southampton. We were 2-0 down, turned the game around. Top player. Amador says, KG was being sensible yesterday about the Isak links to United. Well, I saw Flex obviously did the video yesterday, Flex's view on the channel, and there was a lot of comments on that video. I can tell you specifically how many comments were on that video because it was a lot, and a lot of them were very much, Flex is on crack. Flex is either jet lagged or he's got, it's a free bar in the hotel that they're staying in. Flex has been spending too much time around KG. Actually, the first comment I got on that video is Flex has lost the plot. Why would he leave Newcastle for a shit team like ours? The first comment. I get the sentiment, the sentiment, which is if Alexander Isak is available, and I know we're trying to be disciplined, measured United, like KG, the measured fan, measured, then obviously we're not trying to overspend and we're trying to build properly or what have you. But if there was any possibility that you could do that, you should go for it. You should go for it. The problem is there is no possibility, isn't it? There's no possibility at all. Alexander Isak, if he's going to leave Newcastle, I mean, I know there are those things saying he'll go to Saudi. I just don't see it. I don't see him go to Saudi. I think it's kind of Liverpool bust. There was a story, I think, from Ben Jacobs says he wants 300k a week to stay at Newcastle. He wants a new contract, which Newcastle, I mean, they could give him. Their ownership has more than that money. They could easily give him that, but for PSR reasons, they can't give him that contract as of right now. When I saw the story yesterday, it was scary. It was scary thinking that Liverpool had just signed Hugo Ekitike, who I think they overpaid for. I don't think he was all that. Even when we were being linked with him, 100 million euros, too much. I think they overpaid for him. But then to have the capability and the facilities to still be able to go after Alexander Isak. And I think what will probably happen, I know, again, they're another one, remember? They don't want to sell Luis Diaz. He's not for sale. Not for sale. Bayern Munich, I think, will put another bid in, probably 70 plus million. That'll be enough to fund a move for Alexander Isak. And I think that's how they get him. I think that's how they end up getting Isak, is by selling Luis Diaz. Talk about strengthening a Premier League winning side is scary times. The way that they have purchased and seemingly are making the gap even bigger. Wow, and Núñez as well. Aaron, you're right. Yeah, Darwin Núñez still to go, possibly to Napoli or somewhere. Luis Diaz. Suddenly, that's how you raise over 100 million quid, isn't it? And their players are actually in demand as opposed to ours. So, yeah, it's mad. Mark Platinum Bridge says, "Why do you not go on tour? Is there a colour thing?" Yes, you have solved it completely. I'm glad someone brought it up. It's pure racism. Yeah, it's what it is. No, it comes up every preseason. They'll say, "Oh, you're going to go on tour." Maybe one day. But if I'm there, then who's going to be here? The asylum every summer needs to be dusted off, and it needs to be occupied. I need to make sure you guys have the match views and these morning shows and any breaking news or anything that happens in between. In any well-functioning team, you need to have people that play different roles, right? I would know. I'm a goalkeeper. It's not my job to be scoring goals. It's not my job to be scoring goals, and I don't want to score goals. I want to save goals. That was my role in the team. I've got my gloves. So it's about that's the great thing I think with United View. We've all got our own, roles to play, and it all knits together to bring you all of this. Hopefully, the content that you guys all enjoy. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Indeed. So don't worry about me. It's not justice for Owen or anything like that. It's I'm exactly where I want to be, which is right here with you guys on United View. We're 6 likes away from 300 likes. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Let's see if we can get to 500 likes. We've got over 1,300 people watching on this Friday morning. So that is the latest when it comes to all of this Ollie Watkins stuff. I will say, and by the way, actually, Pyramid Scheme says passportless Owen. No, I renewed my passport last year. I'm livid about this. Absolutely livid. I renewed my passport last year, and prior to being optimized, I renewed my passport. So for 10 years, for 10 years, I've got fat Owen on my passport as opposed to optimized Owen. He just won't go away. He just won't leave me alone. Yeah. Absolute joke. Ridiculous. Every time now I get that out, I go, oh. And you've seen the difference of being optimized. I'll get it out. And it's one of those ones. Is that you? Yes. Me. I go into the passport scanner, comes back, multiple people. I'm going, no, fuck. Just one. just one. Mistakes me for a crowd. I'm like, oh, it's the whole line. No, it's just me. Come on. Yes, disgraceful. Isn't it? Isn't that right, Kenny? Where is Kenny with a disgraceful? I can't. Honestly, I've got way too many. I've got way too many sounds on here. I've got to go to the Kenny page.
Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful.
Thank you, Kenny. What we definitely don't want to see tomorrow is
terrible defending.
No, absolutely. We don't want to see that tomorrow. Goalkeepers. Should we talk about goalkeepers? Before we do, by the way, no one's mentioned it. I'm a bit disappointed, folks. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Kenny again.
Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful.
What is different about? Let's play a game. What is different about this picture here? What you're watching right now? What is different? See if anyone can point it out. Talk about it yourselves. What is different at the moment? Little diversion from the news, but what is different? Yeah. Romeo, you're right. Edinburgh, you're right. New chair, mate. New chair. Got a new chair yesterday. Got a new chair. Put it together. I will just say this is such an upgrade on my old chair. Oh my God. New season, new chair, new Owen, optimized Owen with a new chair. This is the most plush and comfortable chair that I've ever had in how many years have I been doing this now? Since 2019, but with United View since 2021, like 4 years. I've been doing that. Literally, this chair, part of my language, is fucking great. Honestly, it's massive. It's massive. It's comfy. And I've done some long streams, and I'll continue to do some long streams. I was thinking this yesterday too. I did the other day on my channel, when it was AW All In, that show lasted like 7 hours. And then I had to do a show afterwards as well. So I was streaming for like 9 hours consecutively, right? It's sometimes with these match views, like I said, I'll go live 2 hours before kickoff. And sometimes there's extra time. There'll be 5-6 hour streams. Wouldn't have it any other way. But now we're doing it. We're doing it in comfort. When like in sort of the 2000s, they moved away from in the dugout from having those sort of traditional shitty plastic chairs to actually like real big comfortable chairs. That's where I'm at now. Like this is just pure comfort. And the reason I got a new chair is because I broke my other one as well. I tried to get up like this because I was uncomfortable and I snapped the arm off. This doesn't happen. And I can lean. Oh, I can lean back. Supports my back and my neck. And at the bottom, it's got like a footrest. I can pull out at the bottom. It's got a footrest. I can put my feet up. Do you know, if like Man United are just really, really shit, I just pull out that, lean back. Fuck this team, man. Look at Hoyland. He's wrestling. This, Nana. He said, I can do that. Yes. Terrific. Absolutely terrific. But yes, new chair settings. New chair. New Man United chair. It's from Amazon. Expensive as well. but no, it was good. It was easy to put together. Right, let's move on. Let's talk about goalkeepers. Because speaking of Andre Onana, maybe, just maybe, we might be looking at a replacement. It is possible. According to Fabrizio Romano, now I worked on my pronunciation on this. Senna Lammens, I believe it is. Senna Lammens or Lammens is keen on joining Manchester United this summer. This is the goalkeeper from Royal Antwerp. Reportedly could cost up to £17 million, perhaps. But he wants to move to Manchester United. Now, a lot of people will say, never heard of him. Is he any good? Do we know all that much? Etc. etc. There was a stat, wasn't there, about Lammens having like the most saves in Europe or something, wasn't it? Which sounds good, doesn't it? You know, it sounds good. But if you also remember, Andre Onana had a very impressive, like he had like the most saves in Europe or some of the most saves in the Premier League statistic. Statistics can be very deceiving. And what counts as a shot, what counts as a save. But I'm looking at the comps, looks all right. It's not, you can't really tell, can you? 23 years old. So certainly someone that could grow into the team. I mean, 23-year-old goalkeeper, you can go to your 40. So he could be the next Manchester United goalkeeper for 15 odd years, couldn't he? 15 odd years if he's the right guy. In terms of, again, last season, I want to look at some of his stats. He had a statistically impressive season, leading saves and goals prevented. According to several outlets, he made 177 saves during the 24-25 season and prevented 16.47 expected goals, more than any other goalkeeper in the world. Yes, in the world, preventing more goals than any other in the world. His strong performances have attracted interest from clubs the likes of Manchester United and others. A more detailed look at his season. Lammens made 177 saves, which is a high number compared to other goalkeepers in Europe. He prevented 16.47 goals, indicating his effectiveness in stopping shots that were likely to result in goals. His save percentage, Lammens boasts a 78% save rate, indicating a high ability to save percentage of shots on target. He also kept 10 clean sheets during the season, showcasing his ability to shut out opposition teams. He's 23 years old. He's 6'4". So he's a big physical presence. He has experience at every Belgian youth level. He has received a senior call-up, but has yet to play for the Belgian national team. But that's no surprise considering the person in between the six of them is one of, if not the best goalkeeper in the world, in Courtois. And there are certainly clubs interested in him. So, you look at that and you go, that sounds exciting. It will always go back to the eye test for me. And because statistics can be manipulated. But what have we been saying for the last sort of 12 months, really, when it comes to goalkeepers and Andre Onana? Screw the whole distribution thing. Screw the whole, are they comfortable playing with both feet? Can they play out from the back? Shit. Can they save the ball? Can they keep the ball out the back of the net? Can they make saves? According to the stats here, yes. In fact, he made more than anyone in Europe, in the world. So, all right. I can work with that because, as I mentioned many a time, I can work with mostly anyone that isn't Andre Onana at this point. If we keep Andre Onana as our number one goalkeeper this season, he will do exactly what he has done the last two seasons. I'm even at the stage where I couldn't blame him. Genuinely, I can't blame him anymore, Andre Onana. If he's our goalkeeper, and when one goes through his legs, he throws it in the back of the net, he parries it back out, and they tap it in. When that happens, I can't blame him because he's just doing what he does. He's just doing his best. He's not going to improve. You're not going to get any better. You're not going to suddenly become a really competent goalkeeper in terms of shot stopping and saves. He's going to do what Andre Onana does, which is probably, again, what defines a mistake, I don't know, because some don't even go down as statistical errors. He'll do what he does. So it's now Manchester United. Replace him. Find someone else. Find anyone. Particularly, and obviously the market's very inflated right now. I know that it seems like every player's going for 50, 55, 60 million. Goalkeepers, it's different. You can find a goalkeeper, 15 million, 10 million, in this case, 17. I'm even looking at it's like 70 million going, well, it's on the higher side, but he's 23, I suppose. If you're really confident he can be the guy for the next decade plus Man United, 17 million is nothing. But if you're not sure and you want to invest money into other parts of the squad, you can still find a competent goalkeeper for 10 million, maybe even less than that. They're out there. Go and find them. So Lammens wants this United move. As long as we get a goalkeeper, I don't mind. As long as we get a goalkeeper and as long as they can save shots. As long as they can save shots, because you think about it, just think of the difference that would actually make to us. And obviously we're bemoaning, the technical aspect of the team and the players in the midfield. Can they really progress the ball? Can they really pass the ball? Can they make it tick? We don't really have any of those players. But think of the difference, just the fundamental difference this would make to our team if we've gone, right, what did we struggle last season with? We struggled scoring goals. That was first and foremost. We struggled with goals. So we brought in 2 number 10s, hopefully a striker. You've literally hit replacement settings, pulled the old one out, put a new one in. Titanium, right? A ceramic. Put them in. Front 3, goals, assists. And also, new goalkeeper, cut out a bunch of mistakes. Half the amount of mistakes that you see in between the sticks in the season. Scoring goals, concede less. Surely would be better. Sure. I know football doesn't necessarily sometimes work that way, and you're boiling it down to the very basic fundamentals there of football. Score, don't concede, and you'll probably win the match. It sounds like very Michael Owen commentary, but it's true in that regard. Like that would make a difference. It would have to make a difference. So whether it's Lammens, whether it's someone else, get a goalkeeper. Need a goalkeeper before that window shuts. It feels like it is on the list for United, but in terms of priorities at the moment, it probably goes striker. And I feel like every other day that goalkeeper and midfielder one is sort of moving around. I think it probably at the moment, in terms of what United are going for, is probably striker, goalkeeper, midfielder. I think that's what they'd ideally like to do, because I think they also do look at, and I know people won't be maybe necessarily happy with this because they'll say we need more, but I think it's quite significant that you've got people like Sekou Kone, who from the moment we brought him in last year, the plan was he's going to be in and around the academy under 23s for like 6 months or till the end of the season, 6 to 12 months. Then he's going to go out on loan to Luzern in Switzerland, and then we'll have a look at him to be in the first team squad. I think it's really significant now that actually they've gone, no, we're not going to send him out to Luzern in Switzerland. Actually, we'll keep him here. And actually, he's impressed. So I think he might have a part to play. Victor mentions it there in the chat. I think it was reported, I think it was The Athletic or someone else. It might have been Samuel Luckhurst actually said that part of the reason for the difficulty in getting a midfielder as well is this thought that, obviously Casemiro's on big wages and they would need to move him on to specifically get a midfielder. Not that it necessarily always works like that, but that might be something that they've been thinking about too. So I do feel like that priority list is like striker, goalkeeper, midfielder. But who's to say? There was also some news this morning. I don't know if you guys saw this about Antony saying that obviously with a move to Real Betis, kind of looking less and less likely at this point. I mean, I did see the Real Betis, I think it was the sporting director or the president, come out the other day and said that they were working on that deal, but sort of the loan was they're trying to make it work for them. And they said, if we don't get Antony, it's not deemed as a failure, blah, blah, blah. Well, Sky Sports this morning, specifically Lyle Thomas and Damesh, has said the interest in Antony from Saudi Arabia is thought to be increasing, and Antony may be open to exploring the idea. 2 clubs have already registered their interest. So I think that one could happen. I think as the days go on, it feels less and less likely that Antony returning to Real Betis is going to happen, doesn't it? Because they want a loan. Man United aren't interested in a loan. Obviously, they just sanctioned the Rashford loan because they didn't really have any other choice. Antony, they do have more choices. They do have more availability. Antony's thing will just be about playing football again. Obviously, he's back in the in the Brazilian squad now with Don Carlo and World Cup's around the corner. You think, because this is the other thing, Brazil's such a weird national team. Obviously, if you're of my generation, the Brazil team that I grew up with was, your Ronaldinho's, Ronaldo's, Rivaldo's, Cafu, Dida. The list goes on and on of just those, amazing players, an amazing team, World Cup winners. And obviously, even prior to that, you look at the Brazil teams of the 70s and 80s and 60s. They've just always been associated with the best football, international football team is Brazil, and the players they churn out over and over and over and over again. But now you look at like that Brazil national team squad, and you sort of go, it's not the best team in the world. So having, I suppose, the cachet of being that sort of, he's a Brazilian international, you go, what does that even mean anymore? I mean, if I look at Brazil national team, I'd not say they're still not good, but I don't think anyone's expecting them to win the World Cup, are they? Next year? I mean, people will say they could be favourites just for the sake of, they're Brazil, but no one's really going out, above and beyond going, oh yeah, Brazil, big favourites. I expect them to do really well at the World Cup next year. Probably not. You obviously still got good players, Alisson in goal, Marquinhos in defence, but Casemiro's back in the team. It's that sort of front three now. Is sort of they've got Mateus Cunha, Rafinha, Martinelli, obviously Vinny Jr., which is a very potent front four that could do damage, but it doesn't have that. Someone mentioned it there in the chat, that kind of aura. You know what I mean? That kind of aura of Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, just that kind of like the best players in the world. Could obviously there's been chat about Vinicius should have got a Ballon d'Or, and Rafinha, he was being linked to, he could win the Ballon d'Or as well. He's had a fantastic season for Barcelona. So they do have top quality players there. Bruno Guimaraes, really good player, obviously in the Premier League, but they're not that. And then again, you look at that was their starting 11. Who have they got on the bench? Richarlison, Antony, like that. Their bench is pretty shit, actually. It is pretty shit. My point being is, I kind of got sidetracked there. My point being is, you feel like, well, if Antony went to Saudi and just played regular football, he'd probably get in the Brazil World Cup squad. Most likely, he'd probably get in there because they don't have huge strength and depth, not massive. So the important thing for him is that he'll be playing. I don't think he has to worry about, well, if I go Saudi, if I go Saudi, am I not going to be involved? I think he'd be involved. I think I'd be as long as he plays. I don't think that it's going to be one of those ones where just because he's in Saudi he doesn't play. So I could see that one happening. Obviously, you get paid very well in terms of the transfer fee for United. Still probably wouldn't be massive. Just because it's Saudi doesn't mean they'll give us a big amount of money. I think we'll still be looking at. I mean, what would you guys take for Antony? You can't even include the fact about obviously his transfer fee initially for United because ridiculous. What is the book value actually? Book value of Antony. The book value of Antony, the Manchester United winger, is currently around £34.2 million. So, do you reckon we could get like, just about 35 to 40? I think you could probably get that from Saudi, sort of 35-ish. So it's around sort of, like £32 million is kind of book value. Sell them for about 35. Or just literally that book value, 32. maybe 35. Get the wages off the wage bill as well, and just do that. Just do that. And to be honest, that loan move from Real Betis for the second half of last season has probably done us favours, because prior to that loan move, if you'd have said get 35 to 40 million for Antony, I'd go absolutely no chance. No way are we going to get that. Never in a million years. But he had a good end to the season, got in a European final, and maybe don't show our hands so quickly. But we've just got no negotiating leverage with these ones, have we? We're like, all right, Antony, we'll start at 50, and they'll go, all right, we'll walk away. We'll go, no, we 35. We do 35. It's fine. No, yeah, deal. Good. No, did you? Sorry, didn't mean to say 50. We got a deal. Fine. Yeah. Cool. Good. You want to put that in writing now, just so we just you don't want to handshakes. What are they? Let's get it on paper. If we get it on paper, then we can. How quickly is it going to be in the account for? Well, you've got some stuff to do. So, not that we need money. Don't need the money at all. They don't need it. We're not desperate to get rid of him. So yeah, actually, give us 30. No, don't do that either. No, you said 35. Let's just do 35. Good. Write down. So maybe something a bit like that. Maybe that would be the negotiations, perhaps. D Witness with a super chat says, big up Owen holding down the forts whilst flexing KG. Skive can get the staff these days. Separately, I'm really not convinced by Watkins at all, lads. There are some people that are very much vehemently against the Ollie Watkins one, going, nope, don't like it, doesn't excite me. I'm Paul Merson settings, worried for him, Jeff. Did you see Paul Merson the other day? Did you see he went on, because the clip went viral of him about Brian Mbeumo saying that if he was in Mbeumo, he'd choose Spurs over United. If Spurs came in, then he would go to Spurs because they're in the Champions League and they're the Champions League, and he stays in London, goes from West London to North London, etc., etc. And then obviously signs for United. But in fairness, he did the video and he was just like, yeah, got it wrong. I think he's a really good player and I think it's a good signing for Man United. Yeah, and when someone does that, all you can do is go, oh, fair enough. fair enough. Can't really argue about that, can you? Yeah. So fair enough, Merce. SD has been a member for 36 months. Oh, look at that, 36 months. Appreciate all the support, SD. Says, Owen, since you take the time to say player names properly, and like the disgrace flex, you should say Lammens. Also, I'm proud that I'm 3 years with UV. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 3 years. Incredible. Appreciate all the support for all of the years, SD. Amazing. Big up. Appreciate all the members and everyone that gets involved every morning as well. Where do we end up in terms of likes? We're less than 100 likes to go, folks, until 500, which is fantastic. We've got over 1,300 people watching. So if you haven't already, it's not really breaking. It's not really breaking, but do I press the button? Yeah, fuck it. Press the button.
Breaking news.
Fabrizio Romano has just posted in the last few seconds saying that Aston Villa have rejected an approach from Manchester United for Emi Martinez on a loan deal. If you've been watching the show since earlier on, this is something we spoke about. Manchester United are still deciding internally with experienced goalkeeper and young goalkeeper options. The person we were talking about this morning, yes, that being Senna Lammens or Lammens. I'm not having a stroke. From Royal Antwerp remains one of the main names. It's not really breaking news. Just wanted to press the button. But Romano just posted. So Martinez on loan doesn't look like that's going to happen. But Lammens, watch this space. Watch this space indeed. Watch that. So there you go, guys. There's a transfer review for you this morning. What's on tap for today? Well, I don't think there's unless I'm mistaken, I don't think there's a Trinity because 2/3 of the Trinity aren't here. So I'm not sure how we'll be able to do that one. But I will be live, like I said, after 2:00. Ruben Amorim's got his press conference at 2. So probably about 2 preseason press conference can gone for ages though. So maybe closer to 3. I've put 2:30 there. don't hold me to that number. Around 2:30, 3 o'clock, I'll be live to discuss his first press conference of the pre-season, about what he's had to say about signings, exits, etc., etc., etc. I'll be live for that. And then as far as other stuff coming today, well, of course, tomorrow we've got a match. So there'll be a match preview coming from Flex and KG, probably at MetLife Stadium, actually. I think they were there filming yesterday. So we're going to have like a Crashes, probably a match preview. And then, of course, tomorrow it's going to be match day. So we'll have all of the build-up, all of the content. Kickoff's at midnight. So I'll be live at 10 p.m., 2 hours before kickoff. We'll be discussing team news, transfer stories, everything that comes into pre-season. We'll have clips from Flex, KG, and all of the fun stuff that they've been doing in NYC whilst they've been out there as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So be sure to join us then. Like I said, I'll be live later on today with the presser and any breaking news that happens in between. Have a good one. I'm out of here. Peace.